Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Maimin. I was ordained at HUC in 2013 and have worked in synagogues for 9 years, and I'm now back at HUC working here full time. And one of my roles is as Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions. And I have the great joy of specifically focusing on the rabbinical program. So I am so excited to be here with you all today for our afternoon. Well, it's afternoon where I am. Perhaps it's a different time of day where you are session. But I would love to invite us to introduce ourselves. We have both, we have prospective students, we have current applicants, and we have current students and potentially some alumni joining us as well. So when you introduce yourself, we'll all take turns introducing ourselves. When you introduce yourself, if you could share, if you are a student or alum and you'd like to share what year you are, and if you if what you were doing before rabbinical school, and also if you're an alum, where you are now. And I can remind you of those things. Okay. And otherwise, if you'll introduce yourself and share where you are zooming in from. So, hi, I'm Rachel, and I am zooming in from New York City. And I will turn it over to Aura next.
Hi, I'm Aura. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a fourth year rabbinical student on the New York campus. I am a second career student. So before this, I had a career in performing arts management in the New York area.
Thanks, Aura. And thank you for the good reminder. My pronouns are she and her. James.
Hi, my name is James Fader. My pronouns are he, him. I am also a fourth year rabbinical student on the New York campus. Immediately before that, I used to work in journalism, but most recently I spent 4 years working for a family of nonprofits in the Israel-Palestine conflict resolution world. Yeah.
Thanks, James. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen. My pronouns are she, her, and I am on the Cincinnati campus of HUC and am in Cincinnati right now. If my internet goes badly, I'm sort of in a weirdly enclosed room at a synagogue that I actually worked at before coming here. I'm also second career. I was executive director of a synagogue and worked in the Jewish nonprofit space.
Nope, I think, and that's where the internet went weird.
Before rabbinical school. And I think that's it. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thanks,
Cool.
Karen. So good to see you. I'm just going to keep going in order on my screen. So Ira, you are next.
Hi, I'm Ira. I use they, them pronouns. I'm zooming in from my house in Columbus, Ohio.
Thanks, Ira. Good to see you again. Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex Davis. I use he, him pronouns. I'm zooming in from Bentonville, Arkansas, where I look forward to saying I used to be in import compliance for Walmart.
Thanks, Alex. Nice to see you again. Dana.
Hi, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm in Washington, D.C.
Thanks, Dana. Nice to see you again. Miriam.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Miriam Hoffman. I am the Reform Senior Jewish Educator at Brandeis Hillel, an alum of HUC LA, and also of the Zellico program.
Fabulous. Thanks so much for being here. Jacob.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jake Paris Wright. I am zooming in from my office in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, where I currently work for JCC Association of North America. It's good to see all of you. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Jacob. Nice to see you again. Raina.
Hi, I'm Raina. I use she, her pronouns, and I am zooming in from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I am the Springboard Fellow at UNC Chapel Hill Hillel.
Awesome. So good to see you. Helen.
I'm Helen Kaplan. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I am looking into rabbinical school.
Fabulous. Great to see you again, Helen. Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie. I use she, her pronouns, and I am currently in the library of the synagogue where I work in DC.
Katie, have you been in the library all day, or is it just for these?
I left and then I came back.
Okay.
I'm just migrating here. I just don't have an office, so this is my
Excellent. Well,
no one's here.
That's a nice office. Love a library office. That's great. Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I am zooming in from my office in Stamford, Connecticut, where I work at a Jewish social service nonprofit.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Nice to see you again. Gabriel.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I'm zooming in from southeastern Georgia, originally from the Upper West Side.
Great to be together today, Gabriel. And Ashley. I don't know if you're able to go off mute right now or not.
Hey, yeah. Hi, I am Ashley. I work at Hillel at the University of Washington, and I'm in Seattle.
Great to be together today, Ashley. And Michelle.
Hi again, everybody, for most of you that were here earlier. I'm Michelle Waldron, and I work with Admissions Operations. Thank you so much for being here today. And of course, I'm going to make a plug at the end, Rachel, just remind me for the rest of the week.
Great.
So hopefully you all will be able to attend us all week long whatever it's possible for your schedule. Thanks for being here.
I'll let you give the announcements at the end. So I just want to name that, like all of us in different ways, I am holding in two hands, which are both attached to the rest of my body. One, I am holding all of the pain and the trauma and all of the feelings that go along with everything of these last 2 weeks in Israel with war and attacks and tragedy. And I'm also holding in my other hand a tremendous amount of joy to be here with all of you today. And it's really a great privilege to be able to be here and learn from our current students and recent alums about your experiences and get to meet and re-encounter so many wonderful prospective students. So I want to really turn I am just here to help ask questions. If there are holes in any, if there are any questions that should be answered by someone who is employed by HUC, I am happy to answer those questions. And otherwise, I really want to leave the space for all of you to ask our students and recent alums questions. So maybe we will just start off with let's start off. I'm going to mix up the order here. Let's start off with because I think we all learn a little something about each other when we share something that we really love. So I'm going to invite let's see, Aura and James and Karen and Rabbi Hoffman to unmute in whatever order you're welcome to and share something that what's been a really special highlight of HUC for you. What have you really loved about your experience?
Ordination.
Ordination. Tell us about ordination.
I mean, it's a little tongue in cheek, but also there are many other things I loved about HUC. But I think that just like finishing and looking back on 5 years, and then finally, like people called me rabbi throughout the 5 years, but knowing I actually earned it now and deserve it and people respect it for the most part, that feels really good. 5 years is a long time, and to like finally get there and like to have the smach and to like, you know, do the whole thing, that it was very cool.
Thank you.
I can speak sort of to some of the immediate appreciations that I have. I mean, first of all, just these past few weeks, I think I started to take for granted how important it was to be in a community with people that are so dedicated and devoted to the Jewish people, to our future, filled with so much love and compassion. And in my internship, I've been reminded time and again that it is a privilege to be in such constant community, so that when things like this happen, we have the support, but also when things are joyous and excited, just to have other people that are as nerdy about the minutia of Judaism, have other people that are as excited to dance with a Torah on Simchat Torah as you are. It's really nice to have that community through all the ups and downs. And I just gave my senior sermon, which is something that we do on the New York campus in 4th year. And we're in the process of planning and thinking about our capstones or our thesis. And just to have that opportunity to work so closely with a professor has been amazing for my sermon. And I'm really excited to have that opportunity moving forward.
I want to add to James as far as being in this community the last 2 weeks has been really, really wonderful. It's held me together in a way that I didn't expect as far as this whole thing to happen, but how wonderful it has been to be on campus with people. Some highlights, I think, of school for me are, as a second career student, it's really a privilege to learn as an adult. It's really nice to be able to have dedicated time, not just like an after work thing, but to actually be in class and learn. And that's just been awesome for me. And another highlight is school tefillah. It fills me up every time I'm here on especially Mondays and Thursdays when we have tefillah, morning tefillah here at school.
I do want to echo both James and Aura that community here has been just absolutely one of the best things about being in this school and doing this work. I will also echo James's comment about just finding other people to be deeply nerdy and Jewishly nerdy with, who enjoy going down the strange rabbit holes and struggling through Aramaic translations. And to be able to learn in a community of people who share the same or similar interests and passions has been truly a gift. And also to develop some of the relationships with our professors who are wonderful and geeky in their own ways, and willing to feed us extra books and articles and to sit with us as we explore has been quite a blessing.
Thank you so much to each of you. I think maybe I'll ask one more question and then open it up, and I can pop back in if we ever run short of questions. But I'm curious to dive a little bit more into that aspect of academics that you were just talking about, and would love to hear a little bit about maybe something that you either something that you've really been enjoying learning, or something that you were surprised during your learning to discover that you had interest in, that you hadn't known before you started.
I start with our core courses for the first 2 years back on stateside campuses. But in second year, you can maneuver into taking a course that you simply would like to take instead of one that is mandated. As well as all of the others that are mandated. And I had the opportunity to take a class on the David cycle. I did not think I would be particularly interested there, but it was fascinating to learn how the scholarship has changed over time, to really start diving into portrayals of women in Torah, and to start thinking about how our interpretation and study of gender in Torah has changed between second and third wave feminism. And it has ended up, I think, shaping what my capstone is going to look like. It's been just a delight.
Thanks for that, Karen.
I found a new love of Reform Judaism. When I entered HUC, I was like pretty frum. I was trying to be Orthodox, but chose HUC for very like specific reasons. Honestly, thank God that I did. And in 4th and 5th year, when I could choose my electives, I took a Reform Responsa class and a prayer and prayer in the Talmud class with Devorah Weisberg, who is just the bee's knees. Like basically half of the reason I chose HUC and LA. And both of those were really eye-opening into what lowercase r reform looks like throughout history. And I think it sort of eased some of my like anger and frustration with the reform movement, and opened me up to what reform looks like in different contexts. Did you even know we had a responsa committee? I didn't. So that was just really beautiful and interesting. And now I'm a proud Reform Jew. Go us.
Thank you for that. And speaking of Rabbi Devorah Weisberg, she's going to be teaching a class specially for the open house tomorrow afternoon. After I say afternoon, I'm sorry. That's just in my head when it is. Calculate out to your own time zone. We have them listed, but it should be a really fun opportunity to get to study in a really intimate setting with her. She's a phenomenal teacher.
I'm a little jealous of that. I want to study with her. She's not on my campus. There have been a lot of interesting things that I've encountered in my modern Jewish thought class last year. We had the privilege of learning from Judith Plaskow herself, not only studying her work, but kind of at the end of our scope of what we are learning, as she was the pinnacle of that as a modern theologian. So that was definitely a highlight. And this semester, James is also in this class, so I'm just gonna name that, is that I'm taking a class on Tractate Sanhedrin, on capital punishment in the Tractate of Sanhedrin, as like a, what, like, it's interesting. It's really cool. The professor, Dr. Alyssa Gray is amazing, and just makes all of it so interesting to listen to the arguments of the past.
So we do also have amazing professors in New York. I feel like you're going to hear us fighting over which campus has the most to celebrate. I've loved classes, like Aura was saying, like more than a decade since leaving college. Being able to come back has just been such a joy, and I really like learning. I think what's been very, as you move through, you get to sort of, there are very different paces that you can find yourself in. And so taking a class with Dr. Korn, who's amazing medievalist, that spans hundreds, thousands of years, on the one hand, and then I'm doing a class right now where every class we're just looking at one psalm in like going so deep into it, word by word, line by line, and you can get both of those.
That's really cool. I always think to myself that I know I started by saying this, that we learn a lot about people, but I always think we learn a lot about people by what they're reading. I love to talk to people about what they're reading, and I think we can learn a lot about each other also by what we're discovering in our studies, and by what is sort of drawing our attention at any moment in like this lifelong pursuit of study. And so I just thank the four of you for your openness. I have lots more questions I could keep asking, and this was not called Rachel Maimin asks students and recent alums. So I really want to open up the space to your questions. I just want to put sort of one little asterisk in, which is if you have specific questions about details of applying, not like general, if you have general questions or like values-based questions or things like that, then our students and alums would be happy to answer. If you have specific questions, I may say to you like, oh, let's have a separate conversation and sort of put that to a different time, so that we can really make use of the space that we've created together today. Okay, cool. All right. So let's open up. What questions do you have for our four wonderful panelists? Ira, and then Alex.
Hi. Thank you again for this Q&A. This is a great idea. I really want to know, like, what would you say a typical day looks like for you? Or if there is no typical day, a close approximation.
So it really depends on what year you're in. In first, our first year was funky because of COVID. But so setting aside, I'll just talk about campus side, like state side campuses. Like Monday through Thursday, it's a pretty full day. Our classes tended to be like 8:30 starts, concluding like around 3-ish maybe. And Mondays and Thursdays there's tefillah, Wednesdays there's tefillah, Tuesdays there's I mean, so there's things woven throughout. It's not just back-to-back classes. And then now in fourth year, I'm only on campus 2 days a week. There's a lot of opportunities now for cross-campus classes that are taught on Zoom. And so the pacing is very different. And it also means that, you know, in second year, at least in the New York campus, you have some teaching responsibilities. And so 1 or 2 days a week, you're going to be out at a religious school, perhaps. In third and fourth and fifth year, you have internships. And so I'm at my internship a few days a week as well.
That is very different from LA. The classes are the same, like you're in classes basically Monday through Thursday. A different amount of classes given the year. Your first year back in the States, you'll have a student pulpit, which you attend once a month, and holidays. Some are in California, some aren't. So if you like flying and want to get your miles, like that's a good way to do it. It's recommended that you stay for 2 years, but not required. So either your second year in the States, you'll have the same pulpit, or you'll do an internship. And then years 4 and 5, you'll also have an internship. I worked at USC Hillel because I knew I wanted Hillel. So it was just lucky that was able to happen for me. There's also education internships. There's also nonprofit internships, rabbinic internships, whatever you're looking for, that we usually have. And so those are about 12 to 18 hours a week. And each internship looks a little bit different on what you're required to do and how to spend your time. But that's about it.
Can you tell us a little bit, and then I'd love to sort of ask this question of others as well. Can we stay on that fieldwork topic for a moment? And would love to hear a little bit about what the student, right? So in New York, there are also opportunities to serve student pulpits. It looks a little different in terms of, as you're saying, Rabbi Hoffman, in terms of what year we have different fieldwork experiences depending on the campus. And would love to hear from someone who would like to talk about a student pulpit experience, and from someone who would like to talk about an internship experience, and maybe if we have someone who's done both a synagogue and a non-synagogue internship experience, if we have that, or CPE, something you'd like to talk about.
I'd love to talk about my student pulpit. Yeah, again, on the New York campus, the second year, we don't have pulpits, but there's an education class and you should be working at a religious school during that time. So last year for my third year, I decided to do a student pulpit in Fredericksburg, Virginia. They're a beautiful community. I like them very much. And I returned again this year. So student pulpit is a different model. This year I'm going every 3 weeks for a full Shabbat weekend. So I travel Friday, I get back late Sunday. And they have no clergy. I'm it when I show up. The community manages themselves normally. There's about 100 member units, which is kind of on the higher end of these student pulpits. And you're just going and doing it. Like there's no other option. And for some people, jumping in and just doing it is good. For others, other kinds of mentorship are other opportunities. I am, as a solo student pulpit, I am assigned a mentor in the field. So I do have somebody to reach out to that I can ask questions to about like, wait, when do I add like Hallel? Where does that go? Where does this go? How does this work? So that is one thing. And since you mentioned CPE, I do want to say about, I had CPE this past summer, absolutely worth it. It's really important to do.
Can you, Aura, can you say what CPE is?
Sorry. CPE is clinical pastoral education. As far as its requirement, I think that might even vary per campus. But I did it as a hospital internship, as in chaplaincy this past summer for 11 weeks. It was really meaningful, and you're knocking on doors and sitting with people of any faith and being able to understand how to be present for people and for it to be not about you at all is really powerful and can carry you in any aspect of your life.
I want to just, I guess, jump in here. I've done at this point a synagogue placement, a solo student pulpit, and am doing clinical pastoral education right now. So I can say we start in Cincinnati, we started doing student pulpits. Everybody does one second year, everybody does one third year. And it was huge in terms of helping me grow a pulpit presence, growing in my own confidence and my skill in being able to learn and know what I can do on a pulpit. I also had a field mentor that I was able to turn to. And honestly, my classmates were also huge resources. Befriend cantorial students. They are the best of people and they have to learn everything immediately. So can't recommend enough. Cantorial students, best humans. I'm now in a synagogue placement where I actually tag team on the pulpit more often with another human being, which was a revelation. I hadn't been able to do that before, and it's so much fun. And it's been a great experience just learning directly from one other rabbi who's there every single time, and is able to give really helpful and constructive feedback. I would recommend, if you have the opportunity to do both, do both. Likewise, clinical pastoral education is, in Cincinnati, it's required. I know that won't be the case on other campuses going forward. I don't think it's currently the case in other campuses that it's a requirement. It's simply a recommendation. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you talk to those who have come through the Cincinnati program, many of them will say that it was a turning point in their education, and has had a huge impact on who they are as rabbis. And I'm very early in the process, and I can already feel the reflective practice and the growth that that's bringing.
I want to leave room for other questions. I did CPE last summer as well at Bellevue Hospital here in New York City. It was transformative. I am currently at an internship. So there's a full clergy team. There's a cantor, a rabbi, a clergy associate, and a rabbi educator. And so it's like 15, 20 hours a week. Once a month, I fill in for the rabbi at Kabbalat Shabbat services. I help oversee and provide quality control for a casual lay-led minyan on Saturdays. I facilitate tishes, bringing in guest speakers. I led an intro Judaism class last year and am ushering in an adult B'nai Mitzvah class this year. I teach 8th graders. And so like, it really varies what your portfolio will be, but like, I love my portfolio. There are very good options out there.
That's awesome. Thank you. We get a lot of questions in our office about cost of graduate school, and I just want to name that all of the fieldwork options that were just described have stipends associated with it. You are paid for your work in rabbinical school. So I just wanted to name that out loud. And thank you to Alex and to Dana for waiting so patiently. So Alex, please.
It was my pleasure. Before I ask my question, I want to just say that my mom was a hospice healthcare professional before she retired, and she spoke at length a number of times about the impact clergy have of all faiths whenever they're present for those difficult times. So to the extent that any of you have been a part of that raw and important part of the human experience, thank you. My question was going to be, we kind of touched on the topic of the community, both in the form of classes and tefillah, and the relationship between the campuses. I wanted to invite folks to talk more about what that looks like. Is it primarily within your graduating class? Is it across classes? To what extent are the campuses siloed or interacting with each other? I'd like to hear about that aspect more, please.
For the first, I will say that Aura, James, and I had a weird experience because we were all on Zoom for the COVID year. So our cross-campus relationships are very strong in many cases. That being said, second and third year, because we're all doing core courses, it has been very siloed as you get to make choices going into fourth and fifth year about what courses you get to take. There are more opportunities for cross-campus relationships to build. But our class is also very tightly knit on WhatsApp because our Israel year was weird.
And I'll just add that as you get to some of the electives, it also expands within your own campus. There are always going to be students that are going through at various rates. And so I've always had students that are both older and younger in some of my classes, but now in fourth year and in fifth year, it's very mixed.
I think this is one of the benefits of having Israel be your first year. I knew everybody in my entire class because of Israel. And then I had like my close group of friends who we split between the 3 campuses, but we kept in touch over WhatsApp and, you know, however we could. But it did become siloed. And there were people in my class of 50 I didn't really talk to again after that, which is okay. And I think the strangest part is that I don't know a single person who basically wasn't in my year on a different campus. Unless they were in one of my electives and I got to know them, you know, on Zoom. There were so many people in any grade above or below me who I had never even heard of before. So that was a little strange, but I think because Israel is your first year, you get to know every single person in your year, and then they split off into the campuses.
I will say one of the nice things about being out in the field also for me, right, I've been out in the field for 10 years now and worked in a number of different positions, is that I've had opportunities to reconnect with folks who were on other campuses who I might have perhaps not stayed in as good touch with, because I don't know, it's sometimes easier to stay in touch with the people you see every day than it is with people you don't see every day. I think that's human nature. And it's been really quite special to get to reconnect with, meet folks from all different ages and connect with colleagues of all different ages with whom like we have that commonality because we're colleagues, and also to reconnect with my year in Israel classmates, some of whom I hadn't seen in years, and then like we reconnected at a conference and or as the case may be, you know, lived in the same city for 3 years and got to become close again.
One of my year in Israel really good friends who went to the Cincinnati campus also got a job in Boston. And so now he and I have reconnected and we hang out, which is because neither of us know anybody else in the area yet. So that's really great.
Love that. Maybe I'll have a chance to come say hi to you next week when I'm in Boston. We'll try and make that happen. Dana.
Sure. Some of the students mentioned that rabbinical school is a second career for them, and I was wondering if you could talk about the experience of being a second career student. You know, having a type of experience that a lot of your classmates don't have, and any challenges that went along with that. Thank you.
Okay. So I am currently the oldest student on campus, and am currently older than my field placement supervisor. There is a difference. Choosing to come back to rabbinical school after having had time out in the world, you have a better sense of what's feasible in some ways, a better sense of what's possible. And having had time off, I think it brings a different lens to the work that you do. So as a student, I will say I'm blessed to have very mature classmates and colleagues, and I'm a little better at juggling some of the things life throws at me because I've got a little more practice in juggling some of the things that life throws at us. I also have 2 young children. So I will say that for me, I don't go out and have fun because it's fun. I have children instead. Or perhaps I should say instead that having fun looks a little different. So I don't make as deep relationships outside of the classroom necessarily, because it takes a lot of work for me to show up socially, rather than what some of my other classmates need to do. And I have really wonderful supportive classmates who have grown up with my youngest child, having seen him, as an infant on Zoom, and now, are experiencing him growing up, and my kids feel very attached to my classmates. But it also means that finances are really different for me than they are for other folks. And that's stipends and, payment for pulpit weekends doesn't go necessarily as far for me as it might for others.
The parents in our classes are superheroes. I am in constant awe of the way that I think we have parents in our class on every campus. It's a lot. And for those of us without kids, it is so exciting to have class babies. Our group chats are named after class babies. And so it's like, there's a range. I think I'm kind of in the middle age-wise in my class on my campus. And yeah, I mean, sometimes some of the younger classmates feel a little younger. And sometimes that's also really important and exciting and rejuvenating, to be around that energy, making it sound like we're really old. None of us are really old.
If I could just respond to Alex in the chat.
You're muted now. Just unmute yourself.
Great. Sorry. Just responding to Alex in the chat. One of my classmates also had that plan, was to start her family during the 4th year of rabbinical school and take basically all of her classes so that 5th year she could be a first-time mother and just write her thesis. And it basically happened that way, which is a miracle and amazing. But you're not alone in like having that plan. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And like trying to manage all of that can be really complicated and challenging. And I'm sure a lot of stress, and I'm sure she would be really happy to talk about that process if you'd like me to put you in touch.
And one of my classmates, her kids go to preschool for free where she has her student internship. And so there are, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm the oldest one in my class. And it's really nice as a second career student to understand what it is to live as an adult in a way that you can serve your community differently than people that are coming in with a different kind of energy and different ways to think about the world, which are new and helpful for me to see what younger people that are a decade younger than me are interested in. So I think it's really nice to have a mix of that, so that I know where things are going as as we are facing and growing together through the future.
It's such an interesting thing that, you never know, whenever we gather a panel together, that there end up being, right, that the four of you have many things that are different about you, and then some beautiful overlaps as well. I went to school after I decided I really wanted to work. And then I got a job, and I was really bored in my job, and I was like, okay, it's time to go to rabbinical school, which happens sometimes, but also not only because I was bored in my job, but because I was feeling the urge. And I was one of the younger people in my class. And I think, having had that, even though it was only a year, the difference that to me in having to live on my own, like dealing with all of the things about living and paying rent and food meal prepping and like navigating the world, that is just different than it was in college. Although, I also worked through college. It's just different. And I was tremendously grateful for having had even that year experience. I can't imagine having done it any other way for me. And I think that's probably right. All of us, like, we couldn't imagine life being a different way because that's the way life is. So, so that's just the reality. Jacob, please.
Hi, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything so far. A quick question. It sounds as if there's a lot that goes on across the years. So I was wondering if you could speak to your journeys in finding that balance, either as a student and personally, or navigating both the professional aspect and the student aspect, and what that journey has been like. And I guess if you are post-ordination, how that journey has served you solely in a professional capacity.
One of the things that I think is most important that I don't think we talk about enough is how much you're going to have to do on your own. HUC only gives their students a certain amount of hours, which is appropriate. And so you won't get everything. Especially, I think, and this is at least my experience, a lot of that individual and personal spirituality that you get from davening on Shabbos, on holidays, is going to be sort of on your own. And so there's a balance between what school can give you and what you have to find for yourself. That also includes hobbies, non-Jewish extracurriculars. One of my classmates is a potter, and she just goes to pottery every couple days and makes things. She made me a hand washing cup. It's amazing. I went to the gym regularly as just like a part of my like decompression. It's fun to just like not do Jewish for like an hour. So there was a balance there of like, you're in school, you're constantly doing work, you're at your pulpits, you're at your internships, you're doing Jewish, you're with your Jewish friends. I made friends with a lot of the Ziegler folks, and so we were just hanging out all the time. And then I was like, I'm so tired of Judaism. I just need to like talk about sports, which I don't normally do, for a little bit. And so I went to a USC game, and that was amazing, right? Like trying to find the balance between what HUC could bring and what you need for yourself, I think is so important. Because this work is invigorating and wonderful and everything that I think most of us are called to be doing, and it can get exhausting and a little overwhelming. So trying to find that balance will be on you as an individual to find.
I agree with all of that. There are, so I'm not sure if it's available on all campuses or if it's only, and it might only be available starting in second year, but there's the option of taking spiritual direction, which is where you have a spiritual director that really does that one-on-one work to help you cultivate your own personal spirituality. And it is like amazing. do it. It's not required, but it absolutely should be. So that's one thing. I also, yeah, I've like found myself being like, okay, the only books that I'm reading have to do with Judaism, and I'll just like go on a binge and like buy a bunch of like the top, whatever, anything secular, anything non-Jewish, just to have something else coming into my body. I also, starting from first year, I did not grow up religious, and it's been an ongoing journey for me to explore what that means personally. And starting in first year, I developed, and I'm still working through my own Shabbat practice, but part of that has been not doing any work, school work, anything on Shabbat. And there's a lot to do. There's so much Judaism to learn. You're not going to get it all in the 5 years that you're in school. And I've found Shabbat means something to me that it didn't before, because I treat it like this. And to have that 1 day a week, that I know that even if I'm scrambling and pushing and cramming up until Friday afternoon, I know that I have a time to set that aside, has been so sustaining.
I think, well, yes to everything. And I think the balance really matters on what you're walking into school with. I'm married. I had a career that wasn't Jewish for a long time. I come from a non-Jewish background. So the things that give me a break from school are things that I already were bringing with me. And I've also was already living in the New York area. So none of this is new to me. So I think everybody's going to have a different experience if you haven't been living near either New York or LA now. And if you have other experiences that you're walking into life with. But I recommend not being solely within the HUC community. It's healthy to have stuff on the outside.
I ditto Aura, and James and what has been said before me. I will say that my time became segmented by dint of necessity. When I'm home with my kids, that's a silo in time. I'm not doing HUC work. If I can be helping it, that was not a properly constructed sentence. If I can help it, I don't mix school and parenting time. So I parent my children until I put them to bed, and then I do my homework. And I get up at absurd o'clock in the morning to exercise, because I know that I need that to be a full human and to greet other people outside of this world. I picked up archery because it's something that I can do quickly, and it's nice catharsis, and it's not Jewish. And finding hobbies, finding time, creating spaces. I also don't do any work on Shabbat. I save that time because my children see so little of me in the routine of things. I'm going to go pick them up from school when this call is done. That I really hold very fast to my Shabbat as their time and my time to be with them.
I also want to contradict what I said, because that's Jewish, and say a lot of my free time was also doing other Jewish things that I wasn't getting in school. Like I only daven in a conservative synagogue. So now I know how to daven conservatively, or whatever that is, right? Like I'm also reading books that I'm not required to read because I'm interested in Kaplan or whoever else, right? I'm not interested in Kaplan by principle. So I think that like also part of the free time that you're given is to explore the other pieces of Judaism that you're not getting in school, to be a full-rounded rabbi. Like I happen to work at Hillel, which is a pluralistic space. So davening in a conservative shul was actually very beneficial for my career. Not just for me as an individual Jew, which also mattered. So finding a way to get your own spirituality met, finding ways to do Jewish and learn Jewish outside of school, and also to do non-Jewish things, and just fun, not that Jewish isn't fun, just like to spark your own creativity and what else.
I would also just add that that in finding that balance, right? Like we don't have to wait till we start grad school to try and find balance. and and we don't have to stop trying to finding balance after grad school, right? And so I think about also ways in which in this moment in time, speaking to our prospective students now, right, when perhaps life is not filled with the hours a day of Jewish grad school plus hours a day plus the hours of Jewish field work. Like, what is where are you finding your Jewish learning, and where are you finding your Jewish spirituality in order to know those things, like Rabbi Hoffman was just describing about knowing about yourself. Like, this is the kind of praying community that I really love to be a part of. And you'll have opportunities while you're in school to explore that, and there's no such thing as too early to be doing that exploring and uncovering. One other thing I'll share was while I was working in the synagogue world, it's a practice that I continue a little differently now because my hours are a little different, but I cleared 2 hours every Wednesday morning for reading. And I went and sat in a coffee shop on a Wednesday morning and read. And not like, I'm a big fiction reader. That's on my own time. That's not on work time. I know work was not going to pay me to like read whatever latest historical fiction is, topping Goodreads or whatever right now. But like reading for thought, reading for big ideas, reading for, some of it was sermon reading, some of it was like reading I was doing with a friend in Chavruta, to really figure out ways of incorporating those things into your life. And there's no such thing as too early to start incorporating those. So I see some head nods. Thanks for that. Love that recommendation, Karen. If you come in with a partner, I cannot recommend enough creating mandatory date nights so that your partner sees you and remembers what you look like and feels like a priority in life. I also want to double click on spiritual direction. Couldn't agree more. We have a few minutes left today, and there are so many other opportunities for gathering this week for learning and for questioning and for tefillah and for learning with our current students and for learning as a group. And I want to make the space, if anyone else has any other questions that you'd like to ask of our phenomenal students and alum, to invite that into the space now.
Hi, good day. My name is Gil. I'm calling from Melbourne, Australia. So it's 7 a.m. over here. So I couldn't attend the earlier session because I was 4 a.m. for me.
Glad you're here now. Happy Samara.
That's exactly what I'm calling that. I don't know if I could have 10 minutes with someone to ask questions, because like the whole session, I couldn't be here. And my question is, I've been reading about the opportunities with the college, but what are the options for me if I am not going to move to Cincinnati, I'm not going to move, or I cannot move to Los Angeles, or I cannot move to Jerusalem just yet?
Great.
So I was pursuing pre-development or online development, looking forward to move into spiritual direction and learning to pursue a rabbinical ordination someday. Well, it's part of the direction. But yeah, I definitely cannot just
great question. So totally great question. So first of all, I want to say that we did record this session. It's not going to be like, published on the internet, but just for folks who weren't able to be here to be able to hear answers to questions. And so we can make sure that that's, first of all, you can get the recording. Secondly, is that I just put in the chat both my email address and my Calendly link. And we can follow up with those in Michelle, I know will be happy to include those in follow-up emails after this week. And I'd really encourage any of you at any stage along the journey. I am here. I am the admissions person who is really focused on the rabbinical school. And I work with a great team of folks who, all of whom are very capable and wonderful, and would be happy to have a conversation with any of you at any point. So yeah.
I would just say, I mean, no matter when you are thinking of coming to rabbinical school, like Hebrew, the more Hebrew you have coming in, the better your experience will be. It's just like Hebrew, like it will make the experience so much richer. If you can, like, from the beginning, be engaging with our sacred texts in the original.
Thank you, James. I'm smiling extra big because anyone who was on the session earlier today also heard that exact same message from current students who, when we talked about preparing for rabbinical school, and the message or among the messages was Hebrew, and read Torah. Read other things too, and make sure you read Torah and work on your Hebrew. So I couldn't agree more. No matter where you're at, whether you're exploring, whether you're considering, whether you are definitely applying right now, there's never a wrong time to start or continue and deepen that Hebrew learning. So I want to say thank you so very much to Aura and Karen and James and Rabbi Hoffman for being present today and for sharing of yourselves. Thank you to all of you for your thoughtfulness and your presence and your questions. And Michelle, would you like to share a word about the rest of the week?
Yes, I know that everyone who registered for the events this week know the schedule because it went out like a million times, sorry. And so I will be sending on Thursday after we finish our last session, I'll send a follow-up email that has the recording links for all of the sessions that we've had this week. So you all will be able to watch anything back that you weren't able to attend, or even if you did and you want to watch it over. But I just want to ask that if you even think you have a little bit of time in your day over the next few days, please join us. I know Devorah is incredibly excited to do her session tomorrow. She's already sent me the text for it. So there's that session tomorrow. Plus we have a class that you can sit in on tomorrow and another one on Thursday. So you'll be joining online, obviously via Zoom, and the class itself will also be Zoom, just so you have a little context for what you're heading into. And then Rabbi Adam Allenberg, who is actually our senior director of admissions as well, is doing a session on Wednesday. It's still a little unclear to me what he might be talking about, but it's Adam, so it'll be relevant. And then we did invite you with a live stream link to Tefillah on Thursday after the class. There's a class in the morning, then Tefillah, and then it'll be a little bit early for any of you who might be in Pacific time or Australia. And then we're going to close on Thursday afternoon with Rachel and Adam, kind of recapping what we discussed this week, just maybe following up with any final questions. We can go into a little more detail about the admissions process and things like that. We've changed our process a little bit this year where we have rolling admissions. So if you want to talk about that, we can find the space to do that at the end of this week, after hopefully you've gained enough knowledge about rabbinical school at HUC.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Thanks to you all.